Hi everyone, this is New Sensei. Yesterday I posted my review of the Topoint R2 recurve bow. It wasn't a very positive review. There were many things about the experience which I was very frustrated over. And I felt kind of bad about it because I really wanted to give the bow the benefit of the doubt. I see no reason why this aluminium riser and limbs can't function like an ideal bow. And the main source of my frustration and anger came from the accessories in the R2 Archery kit. The arrows were terrible, the arrow rest was dysfunctional and broken, the arm guard was too fidgety, the finger tab was pretty poor. Everything in the kit just felt like it let the bow down. So I wanted to give the bow a second chance. So the angle I'm taking in this rather short video is I'm going to replace some of the things which I think are quite worthless on the bow and actually give the bow a fair trial. I also want to mention that even the bow stringer has come apart. The string has slipped through the plastic tip. It's fixable, but again, is there anything in this kit which has functioned for me? All my other shots are consistently to the right. Apart from not having a plunger button, this tells me that these arrows are far too soft. And again, if you've seen the other review by Archery Supplies, Stephen had a very good experience. The arrows came up quite nicely, he got gold right away, but he shot a 24-pound bow. I'm shooting something which is about 10 pounds higher, and I'm going way to the right. So here I am at 10 meters. I'm using the fiberglass arrows that came with the R2 kit, and again the 25-pound OMP Adventure or the Samick Polaris. Excuse the microphone, I'm using a body mic, so you'll pick up the string on the microphone. Hopefully it isn't too loud, and we'll see how we go. That's a bullseye. You remember my first shot with the R2, the knock came flying off, knock stayed on, arrow flew dead straight into the middle. That's a pretty good arrow. Now, if I shot this arrow from this bow, I actually wouldn't be that disappointed. It comes out really nicely from this 25-pound bow. Yep, beautiful. Yep, that's beautiful. I might be likely to say that these are pretty decent starter arrows. And you can see what a big difference spine makes. I also want to point out that the nocks are a perfect fit for this particular bow. The string is not too thick. I think it's a 12-strand Dacron string, and the nocks are perfect. It's like these arrows were made for this bow kit. It's not like the R2, which I had, the 32-pound, which had a very thick string and it just wouldn't come off. Great. I'm not shooting with particularly good bare bow form, but that was a very good grouping from 10 meters. So here's the group for the 25-pound OMP, all in the middle. There's no right drift as there was with the R2 32-pound, so this definitely tells me that the arrows are soft, that they are more suited for a 20 to 25-pound bow, and any higher bow will have a lot of trouble with these arrows. So as you can see, it doesn't get much better than this. So given that at my draw length, the OMP should be around 23 to 24 pounds, I think that Stephen's test on his review is consistent. I think these arrows are quite well spined for a 24-pound bow. So that shows us that my main source of frustration was the arrows. So it shouldn't be too harsh on the R2 because of the arrows. That said, I'm still very harsh on the kit. I don't think that a kit should have a one-size-fits-all kind of arrow because it doesn't fit all. If you happen to be buying a 24-pound R2, then these are a dream to shoot. They're disposable, they're cheap, but they fly pretty well. If you go above that, then you're going to come up with the same frustration as me, and it does become something of a safety issue. I have to put myself in the buyer's shoes. If I bought the 32-pound Topoint R2 and I knew nothing about archery, that's exactly how I would feel. Frustrated and uncertain about what's causing the arrows to go off target. And most beginners will know that their own shooting form is bad, so they'll blame themselves. They won't blame the arrow, they won't blame the bow, they'll blame themselves. So it's a really big blow to your motivation or your incentive to do archery if you don't understand why you're shooting poorly. And I think that the kit that packages these really mismatched arrows is to blame. Again, it goes to show how vital it is to get matching arrows, the right ones for your draw weight. I don't care if you have to spend an extra $2 per arrow to get decent carbon arrows that are matched to your bow. You will experience such a huge difference in your shooting. You know the feeling when your first shot hits gold and you're like, yep, that was me. That's what you should get on your first shot. So if you get these arrows in your kit, they're trash. I count this as a black mark against a Topoint kit. I do not believe in disposable arrows for your first set and then you get new arrows. Get matching arrows. Even get cheap carbon ones or cheap aluminium arrows, but get them matched to your bow. Otherwise, what you saw in my last video is what you will feel. In addition, look, these are the $3 fiberglass arrows. They're fragile, they'll break easily, the vanes are misshapen, even the nocks. The nocks are like glass, it's a plastic, but they're so brittle that touching them will cause cracks. When I watched the review again, when I hit my own nock, it wasn't a Robin Hood. It wasn't even close to a direct hit on the arrow, but the sheer force of contact with the nock shattered it. You won't see that with proper hard plastic or soft plastic nocks. I mean, some of the nocks I'm holding here have cracks. They're still functional, but they might break apart when I use them. So again, I feel that these arrows are a liability. And in fact, you can just see perhaps the crack running along the middle of the nock there. It's not a seam, that's a crack. That's the other side where it's not cracked, and that's the cracked side. Remember, these aren't replaceable. You can't just order another dozen nocks. What you get with the kit is as is. So if you break a nock, the arrow's gone, and you might as well buy new arrows. But on that note, you might as well buy a set of 12 good arrows from the start. So again, arrows, thumbs down. Now that we can establish that the arrows and the kit in general were at fault, then I want to give the R2 a second chance. I want to assess the bow on its own merits and not the kit that it came with. So I'm going to use my Carbon Express Predators. These are 800 spine, and this particular arrow I picked for my 35-pound Mandarin Duck Phantom. So this should be a much closer match to the 32-pound R2. So here we are once more with the R2. This time using the Carbon Express 800 Predators. I'm using the fair weather finger tab as well, so I'm replacing the cheap stuff with my own gear. So here we go, we're going to evaluate the R2 on its own merits. It's right in the gold. Now I'm aiming off because the center shot is off to the right, and I don't want to touch the sight because it's too loose. In fact, the one screw I still have is coming really off here. That's kind of frustrating. I did drop the adjustment screw and that came off really easily. and it's really hard to make any kind of fine adjustment on the plastic sight block. You kind of have to shove it down and drag it up. It's too rough, and I don't want to touch the sight at all, so I'm going to aim off rather than just the sight. So because its center shot is off to the right, I would have to aim off to the left to compensate, so I will do that instead. Arrows fit nicely. Ooh, that was a weird angle there, sorry about that. That was dead center, by the way, so it did kind of work. The combination of aiming off along with the, I don't know, I can't quite get my anchor point correct. I would normally have the string on my nose. I can't get that with the this particular length for some reason. There we go, that's better. Good, okay, I'm starting to reach a certain level of satisfaction. Now that I've got the head position right, I can get the reference point. This should be a fairly solid shot. Yep. I'm rushing it, I know, but it's flying quite nicely. This is where you have the satisfaction, and you know, bang, 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 you're gonna start hitting the target. Good, good. Now we're warming up. This is a much different feeling to what I had yesterday. You might notice a lack of string slaps, a lack of clearance issues, a lack of swearing. Oh, that's me there. You hear that sound of me hitting my own arrows again? That's what every review has, and that's what it should be. That means it's consistent enough, and I'm consistent enough to make use of the bow as it was intended. Wasn't my best anchor, but still flew the same way. Arrows are coming out quite nicely. They're basically just going a straight line. Again, I'm aiming off, so I'm not consistently in the right spot, but at least we gravitate towards the middle once more. And look at that, what a world of difference that is. Now again, I'm aiming off this way, so I'm not quite consistent, but my average shot is grouping here. And the fact that I'm grouping quite tightly is a very good sign. So this is a pretty average spread, given that I'm not shooting with particularly good form right now, but we're getting results. And this is what I would expect from any bow. And the R2 is starting to live up to that expectation. Again, results. I wasn't shooting with great form, I was just doing the same thing over and over again, imperfections and all, and we're getting very consistent results. Aiming slightly off over here, and we're hitting a very good grouping here. Again, only 10 meters, but that's what a beginner would be expected to shoot. And if you can get this with your beginner kit, then you're doing a good job. So I moved my sight, or I adjusted my aim off more to the left, and that's dead center. I mean, I was almost shooting instinctively for half the shots, and the arrows flew true. So not only is this saying that these arrows are a good match to that bow, it does say that the R2 is a capable bow. And now my amended evaluation of the R2. Like I said, I really wanted to give the bow a fair go using a proper equipment and properly set up rather than being straight out of the box. And to that extent, having used correct matching arrows, I feel that the R2 is on par with any entry-level bow, with consideration that it is typically a lot cheaper. I feel that the metal riser feels nice and looks nice. It handles fine. The limbs are okay, the riser's okay, and plus you have the attachment points for your stabilizer and your sight, which makes it quite a flexible beginner bow. I think the options are there, and I feel that this would be a good entry-level bow for someone who has never done archery and wants something to learn with. And it's a good viable alternative to the cheap wooden recurves that you normally see. So if you got the impression that in my last review I hated the bow, I would like to correct that. This is a capable bow. As you saw before on target, I was able to group nicely, and with the right arrows, it was a sweet shooting machine. And that's, again, the thing with bows that you get, and especially with matching arrows, you want that sweet spot. You want to be able to repeat that process and get results. I got results, I'm happy with the bow. And that's saying a lot. So yes, I am going to say I'm impressed with the bow. Are there shortcomings with the bow itself? Irrespective of the accessories, I feel that the light weight of the bow does make it quite easy to torque and turn. That's why I find myself slapping my arm several times in the reviews. So I find that I have to hang on to it just a bit more. This is kind of counterintuitive to good form, but I find if I just let it sit there, it kind of goes off a little too easily. So I do have to maintain a good bow grip. But apart from that, I feel that it is performing as well as it should be, and I would actually recommend that if you are looking at a very cheap bow just to start learning with, this is not bad. In fact, if you're taking lessons from a club and you just want your own kit so you can get ahead and practice in your own time, then this is actually not a bad idea. And I do know that some compound shooters will use a cheap recurve to practice form as well as to train their draw weight. And this is not a bad idea. If you just want a second bow to muck around with and you don't want to spend money on an actual competitive target bow, I think this is a good option. And I feel that the negativity and the frustration I felt at the Topoint R2 was not because of the bow. It was the accessory kit. And because the Topoint R2 is sold with the kit, then I feel that it's a bad deal. Unfortunately, the distributor did give me the 32-pound bow to review. And given that this is a club environment and I need light draw weights, 20 pound, 25 pound at most, having a 32-pound Topoint R2 doesn't seem that useful to me. Like, I need to have bows which newbies can use on the first day or second day. This is not a bad way to give people a taste of 32 pounds, but there are other ways of doing so. We've got other bows which are 32 pounds. So I think that if you're gonna buy this for a club, you need to get a lighter draw weight. Now that said, in some ways I'm glad that I did get the heavy kit rather than the light kit, because if I got the light kit, I wouldn't really know about many of these issues, especially the arrows. But the heavy kit really showed that the fiberglass arrows that the Topoint R2 comes with are terribly matched. So it just reinforces my opinion that you should be getting decent arrows with your bow. You should invest more in your arrows than you do your accessories. Your arrows will give you good feedback. If you shoot poorly and your form's off, then your arrows will show that. Whereas I'm shooting with good form, but the arrows are telling me that I'm shooting like crap. So that's why I had such a very bad taste with the R2 yesterday. Today I feel much better using my own arrows, and I think that I will give the bow a thumbs up and the kit a thumbs down. That statement may be somewhat controversial because some people will push the value for money. And in fact, I do agree. You can't get any bow kit for this low a price. For about $200 you get all this stuff. And some of the things are surprisingly good inclusions. Things like the bowstring wax, the Allen key set, the arrow puller. These things are never included with your bow kits. And these are actually good items that will last you for your entire archery career. But then there are other things which are so poorly made and don't function that you have to get rid of them right away. The arrow rest, the sight, the arrows. So the money you save, you might save 50 or 60 bucks on accessories, you're going to spend on replacements anyway. So you're not really saving money. And considering that you'll grow really quickly with the bow, then it might not be a good mid-term to long-term choice. And as a club shooter, as a club instructor, I generally lean towards that IOF or similar target platform, which is modular, it's replaceable, you can get parts for it, you can tune it quite easily. That's a better pathway than getting a cheap beginner kit. The beginner kits, I'd say, are for the recreational backyard home shooters, the ones which don't have any expectation to use the bow in the field or in a competition. But if you're in the club, then this is not going to be that sort of bow. I feel you would benefit more from a bow that lets you grow with it. This bow kind of holds you back. So whether or not you get it will depend on where you see yourself. Hopefully that sheds a fairer light on the Topoint R2. I do think the bow stands on its own merits, but it does come with a package that is questionable in some areas, depending on which one you get. So that's my honest review. You've seen my frustration in my previous video, and now I'm a bit more pleased and satisfied with the bow, and it's something I would recommend and not snob off as an inferior bow kit. I think it's okay, but it needs very good setup for it to function and give you that satisfaction. This is New Sensei. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.